Journey really started in 2006 when I was practicing martial arts at the time, and I was with a group, and we went to Sedona, Arizona for the first time to do hiking, meditation, and mind science. And the mind science was really a deep dive into you and why you do the things you do. Obviously, the martial arts was because we were with a group, it was a martial arts group, practicing out there. And the hiking, which is the first real experience that I had with hiking, as well as meditation. And my first amazing experience was out in Sedona, Arizona. We had hiked to Airport Mesa at sunrise. It was freezing. And we were out on the rock and the sun is coming up, and he was guiding us through. It was a guided meditation. And I remember just feeling the sun warm my body as it started to come up over the mountain. And I felt this sense of peace. I felt this sense of balance and grounded energy. And I remember saying, I want more of that. He was guiding you through breath, and I was having a problem with different stresses in my life again, where I would hold my breath when I was stressed and didn't even realize I was doing it. And I was breathing fully. The fresh air. It's like every little experience I was able to take in, and it was amazing. And I remember when I left after we did the retreat, I think the retreat was 5 days. I remember crying and being like, I don't want to leave. And I felt at home in Sedona. You know how amazing and beautiful Sedona is. And that was my first experience with Sedona. But Sedona, Arizona for me has been part of my journey since 2006 when I started this. After I had that experience of feeling that peace and balance in my life and being out hiking, then I was thinking, hiking makes me feel alive. I feel like I'm wrapped in spirit. I feel like I'm breathing in God's beauty every day. I usually would hike by myself, which was just my spiritual connection with the earth. I've always followed a really the native way of thinking. That's always been aligned with me. That's part of my heritage way, way, way back. So it's always been something interesting to me. And and it started there. And I remember when I went hiking there was a big group that went. There was probably, I don't know, not huge, but maybe like 15, 17 people, I think, on the group. And I ended up going out and I did a hike with the teacher, one other person, and then myself. And we went and did a hike just by ourselves when we had a break. And we went to one of my favorite locations. And I didn't realize at the time the location that I love was about manifesting. It was the vortex of manifesting things in your life. And I absolutely fell in love with that spot. And I was really seeking a native way of learning as well, like being with the earth and giving thanks and gratitude for everything and just being in flow with nature and seeing animals as teachers. And I remember I was asking for a sign, and I'm sending out prayers and asking for a sign. And I remember I saw the teacher was here, student here, and I was in the back. And I saw the teacher step over something. I saw the person in front of me step over something, and I looked down, and there was a perfect eagle feather. I mean, pristine, massive eagle feather. And I saw it and I felt in my heart and spirit, I was just accepted to not only by Sedona, because it's a very unique place. People move there and move out, and it kicks you out and it lets you stay for a little. It's very interesting depending on where you are in your spiritual journey. And I feel like I was accepted not only by the land, but just on my acceptance of my native path and what I was going to start to learn. And I remember my teacher turned around, he looked at me, he said, as soon as I saw that and I stepped over, he said, I felt it was for you. And I didn't have anything with me, but I had my belt on. I don't even think I had a backpack because we were just doing a small little hike, but I had a little tie on my belt, and I tied the feather on my belt, and I felt like I was on cloud 100. I was so, so happy. And after that, we ended up meeting with some of the other team, and we went to one of the stupa, which is it's like a Buddhist place where you pray and do meditation. It's outside. A stupa is kind of like a steeple. It's filled with thousands and thousands of prayers, compassion and love for all of humanity. And we went up to this amazing place. I had to hike up there. It's not very far. And we go up, and it's just brilliantly gold and flags, prayer flags everywhere. And it just felt, you could feel the peace. So many people going there for prayers and, sending out love and compassion to humanity. And there was a little table. There was a pathway. It was all made of dirt at this time. This is a long time ago. It was a pathway of dirt around it, and there was a little table in front. And there was all kinds of things on the table, gemstones, water, flowers, all kinds of stuff. And then my teacher came over to the group and he said, it's good to make an offering and to give something and then pray. You have to walk in the way the sun goes. So it is walking clockwise around, and you say your prayers, love and compassion for humanity to all beings, and other whatever you feel inspired to pray. And I felt a pull from spirit to, the only thing I had was that feather that I just got. And I felt the pull from spirit to give that as an offering. I'm going to get emotional. I'm so sorry. I had just got that feather, and that was an acceptance, which I felt from family, from the earth. I felt such compassion to, that the earth accepted. It was such an amazing experience. And then not even an hour later, I was called, and I felt it in my heart. I was called to give that back for prayers for humanity and for love and compassion. And I said, not ready for that yet. And I stepped back and I was like, I just got this feather, and I'm going back and forth in my head, but I could feel spirit saying, it's not for you to keep. And with tears in my eyes, I put the feather on the altar, and I started walking around and saying prayers for humanity and for my spiritual path and for everyone, for all of love and humanity to pour upon everyone, and compassion, and just, prayers of just peace, while I was crying for releasing something that I wasn't really ready to let go of, but I knew it was right thing to do. So that was my first experience with Sedona and starting on this journey in 2006. And that experience led me to go to Sedona by myself 3 to 5 times every year to hike, learn all about Sedona. It was a magical place. I was starting to do my work before I knew what I was doing. Before I knew I was doing my work, I would start to bring people there and show them around and take them to sacred places and little places that I found. And I started doing my own personal ceremonies, and didn't even know that's what it was. I just knew that's what felt right in my heart and spirit. And interesting experience was with you, and I brought you and Charlene out, and I would typically stay for about 7 to 8 days, and I would bring a couple people out for 3 or 4 days, have a break, or they would be back to back. And then I would do the same thing, and I kept doing this with groups because I'm thinking, there's so much magic here. There's so much joy and love. If people can just see this and feel it, they're going to see everyday magic, and it's going to be amazing. And I remember this is the most magical thing to me because, you guys are my best friends, and I brought you and we're there, and it was both of your first time. Okay. I don't know exactly what year that was. I can't remember. I want to say 2009.
I think it was, well, no, I think it was earlier. I think it was 20. No, you might be right. Either
2009,
2009 or 2013 or 12.
a little bit later. Okay. And I'll go back to some of the stuff when I started, because I want to finish that story, but I'll tell you a little bit about the yoga journey too. But anyways, we went there for, I think, 3 or 4 days, and we were getting ready to leave, and you guys were I was going to drive you back to the airport because I had to pick up a friend who I was bringing back. And Charlene was like, "Hey, can we just stop and go to this little town?" We'd been hiking. So she wanted to go to the town square and ask the people there, which is Tlaquepaque. She wanted to ask the people if they loved as much as we did, or she did. She just wanted to go. And it was like 9:30 and things kind of open, but they really opened at 10 at that point in time. And I said, well, we can go. There's a little coffee shop and we can walk around. And, that's what we did. And so now, meanwhile, let's say you're right, and it's 2013. I'm so bad with time. It was 2013. And I had been going since 2006. and I had
Yeah.
been going a lot, like a lot. And back then it was all mom and pop places. It was like, there wasn't McDonald's, there wasn't any, Whole Foods, stuff like that. And so I had been there for years and gone a lot and known about everywhere. And that's why I was taking people. And so we went into the back because everything was closed. I said everything was probably not going to be open, but we'll see what's open. And she did exactly what she said and went in and asked the person, what do you think? We're visiting. Do you love it here? You work here? And would ask them questions. So we ended up going to the very back. And there was one spot open. Remember, it had the shells and
Yes.
the jewelry. It was very small, but it had shells and butterflies. And it was amazing. And we went in and looked at the jewelry. It was a tiny store. So we weren't in there very long. And she wanted to go to the store in the end. So we came out and she wasn't back. And so we were like, hey, let's walk over there and go in. So we walk in and I walk into this building and I felt like I went through a portal. I don't know how else to explain it. It wasn't a doorway. I felt like I went through a portal. And as soon as I went in, I could hear native flute music. I could smell sage, turquoise everywhere, statues of dancers and paintings. And I just remember looking around and standing there and being like, I have never been in this store. I don't remember this store ever. This is so strange because I've been to all the places.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is really neat. And as soon as I started looking around, a little lady walks up to me and she's got long black curly hair. And she said, can I show you the painting? And she said, and I'm like, show me the paint. I said, okay. And so we go and I sit down on this little wooden bench that's all lacquered and has little turquoise beads all in it. And I remember like every bit, I was just feeling the bench and the experience. And there was this massive painting in front of me when it was dimmed. It was on a dimmer. And so she started to tell the story of the painting and she started to turn up the lights and the painting started to come to life. And when I started
Mhm.
to look and see as she's telling the story, at the top, there were in the sky, it was two clouds facing each other, and the clouds turned out to be two native chiefs' faces looking at one another. And then the one on the left side, right where the third eye would be, was the full moon. And as soon as I saw that, I just like broke down in tears with like, when you cry and your body's crying kind of thing. I mean, I was heavy duty. I was having some kind of healing or I don't know what was going on. I was like, what's happening? She brings me the tissues and she's like, oh, this happens. And I'm thinking, well, not to me. I've never looked at artwork and I like waterworks and this kept on for I don't know how long. And so I said, I'm going to step outside because I need to get, myself under control here. And then I'm going to step outside and I'll be right back. So I went outside for a good amount of time. I would say what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was out there for a
Yeah.
while.
I remember me and Shirley looking at each other going, is
What?
she okay? And we were like, something's happening with that painting and her.
It was
Yeah.
very strange and transformative at
Yeah.
the same time.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful at the same time though, to see that happen in front of you.
Thank you. I never asked your side of it because I don't really remember. I just remember going outside and wiping my face and I was good. And then I came back in and I started crying again. And then I remember Charlene coming over to
Yeah.
me and she goes, why are you crying? It's gonna make me cry. And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I feel like I'm having a healing and awakening. Something's going on. I said, I don't know. I said, and she looked at me and she goes, the artist just walked in. Do you want to talk to him? And I just remember going, I just want to thank him. I don't know exactly what's happening right now, but I know I just want to thank him. And I remember walking up to this very tall, thin man. And I remember putting my hand out with like such intention to be like, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And his hand, I remember, was massive and huge and just soft as a feather. And I don't even remember what he looked like. I don't because I was crying so hard. I just remember looking up towards his face and saying, thank you. I think I've had an immense healing. And we ended up leaving. So you guys rode in front of me. I rode by myself. Thank you. Because for 2 hours I cried the whole way to the airport. And then I told my friend, and she's like, you got to go back and get that painting. What I didn't share is the amazing experience of this was the day before y'all left. We sat
Mhm.
at the place where I found the feather in 2006. And
Oh,
I don't know if I told you that the day before we left, we sat it was at Cathedral Rock in a sacred spot. That's my favorite. And I did a little ceremony with you and I walked you through it. And then after we were done, you said to me, well, what do you want? And
hmm,
I kind of took back because I was taking you guys on a journey, I was like, taking you. And so I was thinking about you. I wasn't thinking about me. And so it really just made me think. I remember just sitting there going, wow, what do I want? And I remember with every fiber of my being, I said, I'm ready to be on my spiritual path and live at my highest, happiest self. And
yes.
I'm ready. And I don't care what has to shift in my life. I want to live for spirit and I want to be on fire in the spirit. And I want to do
Mhm.
what I'm meant to do.
Mhm.
And the next day that happened with the painting. And that same day, I met my teacher. And
Yeah.
then he became my lifelong teacher.
Mhm.
Um, of the native way of thinking, one of my many teachers that I have. And that was the day. And the
Yeah.
interesting thing about that is you were part of it. I didn't even know where we would be. What is it? In 20, November 2024, that
Yeah.
this we'd be here. So,
Yeah.
and again, I wasn't even doing my work yet. I didn't have my business. It wasn't like I was doing my work before I knew I was doing it. And while I was doing this, starting, I would think in 2008 or 2009, I went to practice yoga because I wanted to do more learning about me. I was doing that deep dive in 2006, mind science, learning why you do the things. I did the same thing for yoga to learn about my body and why and my spiritual path. And it was just this seeking, 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 seeking. And then in that seeking, I started learning. She did meditation. And so I started doing that with regular class. And then one day, my hands in a meditation felt like swirling and heat and pressure. We were only doing meditation at the end of class, maybe 5 minutes. And I remember sitting up and she always asked if you had any questions. And I said, my hands feel like I feel pressure or swirling energy. I didn't know, I didn't call it energy because I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, there's just something going on with my hands. I feel like they're lit up. And she said, have you ever looked into energy work? And I didn't even know what that meant. And I said, I don't never even heard that. And I just remember her going, okay, and walking away because she wasn't the kind of teacher that she didn't lead you. She led you in a way, but it was your path of seeking. And that because I was studying a Japanese martial art, I
Mhm.
ended up learning about Reiki. That was the open door, and then it went into many different veins of learning different types of energy healing. But that's kind of where that all started. Yeah.